Hello everyone, welcome to another video talking geeky stuff with me, Tensi. And today's topic is another actor slash director focus, Takeshi Kitano. He is also known as Beat Takeshi. If you read his resume and look at some of his IMDb, that guy is multi-talented, no joke. I mean, not just an actor, he's a TV presenter, author, comedian. Did I say director? Director. Yeah, he is very talented. And for those who don't know him from his films, some of you may have seen a crazy Japanese TV show called Takeshi Castle back in the mid 80s to the 90s. He was actually a host of that. So he's very talented. So anyway, let's go back to his movie. That's what I'm here to talk about. So starting with the first movie that I first saw of his was Violent Cop. I remember watching it back in late 93, or was it early 94? It was roughly around that time. Because I remember at that time there was a lot of films that was kind of getting made because of the big hit of films like Goodfellas, Reservoir Dogs, Carlito's Way, a lot of those kind of gangster style, violent types of movies. And at the same time as well, a lot of, in the UK anyway, I'm not speaking from like America, Canada, any other place like that, just UK alone, there was a lot of interest in foreign movies, especially Asian movies at that time. Hong Kong cinema, Japanese, Korean, French, German, European art house movies were really kind of coming in. You had companies like, in the UK we call it Curzon, one of those small labels that did a lot of those foreign movies. There were manga videos buying manga from anime as well. That kind of stuff was really coming in. And on to the fact that violent films were coming in, like Reservoir Dogs, and cinema was so into that time. They were purchasing, like I said, John Woo films, like the Better Tomorrow, the John Woo films, and so on. I'm going in circles here, and one of the films that came out was Violent Cop, and it was limited release in cinema. I remember going to see it, and I remember watching, because back then we didn't have internet as we have today, but I was buying a lot of movie magazines like Empire magazine, other magazines. There was this magazine that, oh my god, I can't remember what the magazine's called. It was focused on Asian cinema. So I subscribed to and scanned that every month. And I remember there was a big article about Beat Takeshi and his films and the upcoming Violent Cop. I remember that just the poster or the advertisement was like, if you like Reservoir Dogs, this is the Japanese version. He's like the Robert De Niro or Al Pacino of Japan. So I thought, okay, I read the article, found it really intriguing. So I went to the cinema to watch it. Came out, I thought, wow, this is really good. I love this guy's acting. He's very deadpan. Someone described in the magazine his acting very, what do you call it, near status. Because watch his films, he doesn't have a lot of dialogue in his films. He doesn't really talk a lot. He uses his facial expression, which is pretty minimal, but it tells a lot. That's a mark of a good actor and a director, because Violent Cop was actually directed by him. I think it was his first movie was as a director. And watching that, I thought, wow, this is actually really good. And the funny thing was, I didn't know it was actually made in 1989 until I read the article again, because I don't really read the article, I just read like the important parts. But finally I went home, read the full article word by word, and I found it was made in 1989. And I watched this film in, what was it, 93, 94. So I didn't even know it was made in the 80s because it was so well directed. So after that, he was a big hit. They started to release some films in the cinema, limited release, some straight to video, VHS. Remember, we were still using VHS back then because DVDs didn't come out till 3 years, 4 years after that. So VHS come out, and yeah, so I started buying a lot of his movies and liked them all. The one that I think that really, how do you say it, made him, don't use the word household name, but much more recognizable, and I think the Western audience took notice of it, was Battle Royale. I think it was kind of based on the situation in Japan that time where there was a lot of violence happening with young adults and so on. For those who haven't seen it, I won't spoil it, but all I can say is definitely watch it. It's an amazing film. Of course, Hollywood has got the rights to do that. They were actually going to make a remake of that a few years afterwards, but it got held back because, if I remember correctly, a couple of years after Battle Royale, there was actually a college shooting that happened. So Hollywood kind of went, should be doing this kind of movie, because the movie's about, college student killing each other, right? Oh damn, sorry, I kind of spoiled it. Anyway, spoiler alert. Yeah, it's about just watch it, it's an amazing film. I'm not sure what Hollywood's going to do with that. I know they still got the rights for it. If you like Violent Cop, I would also suggest Outrage. Outrage is a trilogy. He plays a cop, very similar to the character he portrayed in the Violent Cop. A little bit more action-packed, pretty violent. That's how you don't watch a Takeshi movie without violence in it, right? There is one film here that is definitely something I recommend for those who don't like all these kind of gangster, violent kind of movies, is Zatoichi, The Blind Swordsman. That's actually based on a 1967 Japanese of the same name. I remember watching that limited release again in the cinema. It was great. It was pretty packed, and I remember audience really reacted to the film. It was funny in some parts, very good sword fights, character development. The ending I thought is funny and quirky. Definitely check that if you're not into his kind of gangster, corrupt cop kind of films. Moving on to his, I would say, honorable mentions, which I find they were good, but I don't think they were as good as the first set of movies I just you saw on screen. A lot of the movies were highly acclaimed by critics, of course. I think a lot of these movies are highly acclaimed. I remember an article once, someone, actually a Japanese film critic, can't remember the name, once dubbed him as the true successor to Akira Kurosawa. Akira Kurosawa is a legend in Japan. To be a successor to him, or in the same sentence as him, is a great honor alone. That depends on your taste. I would say, me personally, I think he is definitely up there as one of the great Japanese actors, filmmakers, directors, producers of all time. Anyway, there's only a few things that I don't like about his filmography. It's not so much of his Japanese films, it's more of his Western films, like Ghost in the Shell, the live action. He was in that, and he was in, some of you may remember, back in the mid-90s, Keanu Reeves, Dolph Lundgren, Johnny Mnemonic, can't remember now. He played the character in that. The film was kind of trying to cash in on the mid-90s when cyberpunk was big, because Akira Ghost in the Shell was getting released in the mid-90s, so just trying to capitalize on that cyberpunk sci-fi genre. So they made that. He was in that, which I've only ever seen once, and I can't remember much of it, but I remember not liking it too much. But anyway, enough of that said. I have to say thank you for staying to the end. Please like, subscribe for more talking geeky stuff. And I'll see everyone in the next video. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. And please stay safe. Goodbye.